All right, check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. You got to be quicker than that to beat Dan Trader in the chat, FD Trader. But appreciate you all being here. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. Talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. Want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. I'm Coach Jay. Coach Paul's out today. Feeling a little under the weather. So well wishes to you, Coach Paul. Back with us in a day or so. Courtney with the dub. Yeah, gold turned out to be a pretty good trade. Pretty good trade last night. We'll talk about it for sure. Anyone who's been an At the Buzzer viewer for a while, you know exactly what that trade is, but we'll break it down. Talked about it during the daytime show. Get a little more of that here in just a bit. We do have some earnings out. We do have Palantir reporting their earnings, and it looks like the number is out already. So let's just do a quick transition over to that chart over here. Palantir right at the close was trading $147, is up to $159 now. So it looks like a favorable reaction to whatever their earnings report was. Get you those numbers in just a second here. Am I not seeing them? Getting a headline here, not from Palantir, but OpenAI unsatisfied with the speed at which NVIDIA's hardware can spit out answers to ChatGPT users for complex problems. So maybe a little turmoil in the AI space. I'm not seeing those Palantir numbers. Not just yet. All right, did you get them there? Is that what that is in the chat? Revenues came in at 7.2 billion. Estimates were 6.22. Is that right? Let's see. Or I'm not getting them yet. Whatever it is, it looks good. Pretty favorable response there. I'm just not seeing it yet. There you go. And Orpez. See. Earnings per share came in at 25 cents. Estimates are 25 cents. That's looking pretty good so far. Fourth quarter revenues came in at 1.41 billion. Estimates were 1.33 billion. Okay. There you go. So decent numbers for Palantir there. Why do we look at Palantir? The same reason we look at, an NVIDIA, a Microsoft. As these companies go, because they're so heavily weighted in the equity indices that we trade, they are going to move the NASDAQ around as well, right? So let me check the NASDAQ weightings here, and I'll let you know exactly where Palantir is on that list. Palantir is number 15. So 1.05% weighting of the NASDAQ. For comparison purposes, NVIDIA is 12.94%, Apple is 11.35%. So Palantir is not in that top 10, but still pretty heavy. And maybe just giving us an indication of what we can expect for some of the other tech earnings. Who's invested in Palantir? Just curious in the chat. Who is a Palantir holder? Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We talked about this with the Microsoft Meta earnings last week. Great response initially. Does it sustain? We understand that these moves are happening post-market when there's lower volume. When that volume comes in for the New York session tomorrow, that'll tell us a lot about the news. Courtney, damn, in Palantir from $40. I remember in 2020. You guys ever have one of those where you just like you told your friends about something, you were in it, and you didn't hold it yourself? Every time Palantir earnings come up, I remember telling friends to buy it when it was at $20, when it dipped below 20. Telling friends to buy it. I was buying it myself, and then I took it off for a scratch, or like slightly above a scratch. That one hurt. That one hurt a little bit, but Brad trades in since 1150. Amazing. And And that was actually one I did a ton of research on, right? Every day it's oh man, you had it for $6. Damn. I guess I can't complain. I think my average was like $17 or something like that. But yeah, there you go. When Palantir was near the lows, I told people not to buy it. Well, hopefully you've given them maybe some other advice if your friends come to you for financial advice. Also, anytime I ever do that, I remind my friends as well as you guys. Right, this is not financial advice, just a suggestion. But yeah, shout out to all the Palantir holders. You guys are happy about what you're seeing right now from those earnings, and really nice hold on those shares there. Let's get back to the futures that we trade. I'm coming back from a wild weekend. It was a pretty wild day in the markets again today. Let's take a look real quick at the Trader Hub. OpenAI headline just came out. Not happy with NVIDIA's speed of their hardware, which is interesting. We were talking earlier about some of the AI money moving around, and they're really just passing money around the table. Curious to see how some of this stuff plays out. But we did have some numbers early this morning. S&P manufacturing PMI came in at 52.4. Forecast was 51.9. ISM manufacturing came in at 52.6. Forecast was 48.5. We did have Bostic, Fed Bostic, who's not a voting member, say that there were going to be 0 rate cuts this year. Interesting to say from a voting member, but we will see what happens there. We do have some news, I believe, later in the week. Yeah, it's jobs week. It is jobs week, so not tomorrow, but what is this? Friday's the 4th is Wednesday. 4th is Wednesday. We got the ADP numbers coming out. The 5th, we have initial jobless claims, and then on the 6th, we have Michigan sentiment. We're not getting non-farm on the 6th just yet. I think it's later. Yeah, non-farm is next week. So a bunch of data to still come out later this week. But we really just had some markets moving, so we can talk about those for sure. 36 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts, and today to the downside, we had heating oil down 6.66%, micro Ethereum down 12.87%, and natural gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, down 24.83%. PB, so non-farm is usually the first Friday of the month, and then there's like every once in a while they do the second. I can't remember exactly why they do it, but every once in a while it's the second Friday. You guys only see a black screen. There you go. There you go. Now you should be able to see my screen. But yeah, natural gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, down 24.83%. To the upside, we had cattle up 1.12%. Lean hogs up 1.55%, and silver, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 2.42%. If you looked at the metals, I'm surprised to see silver up today, to be honest. But our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 2.36%. To talk about our big four, we had crude oil down 4.6%, the S&P down up 0.56%, gold down 0.89%, and the NASDAQ up 0.83% on the day. Wrap up our big four. Palantir chart looks really ugly. Big old head and shoulders. Can you share how I made 30K today? I can share how I made 30K today. Absolutely. We shared it during fast markets. Yeah, I had a really good day trading gold today. But it was all part of the process. You'll be surprised to know that it wasn't anything other than what we talk about on a daily basis here, which to me is pretty cool, right? Because then that means I could do it again. Right? If I didn't know how I make profits, and I've said this before, but if you don't know how you make your profits on the day, it's the scariest place to be, because if you have a big day, you try to replicate it, but you don't know how you did it. So, you kind of chasing rabbits. But take a look really quick at the equities. We had the NASDAQ still very much in this range. We tested that October 10th candle again. If you looked at the NASDAQ or the equities in the overnight session, it looked like we were going to sell maybe back down to 25,000s. But not much has changed here. Talked about, the 20-50 moving average, 20 still above the 50, above the 200. The NASDAQ just has not found a reason to bid or sell out of this range, which is maybe kind of comforting for a trader, especially if you're a range trader. where you can identify the extremes, trade off the extremes until it breaks. Once it breaks, then maybe it's not a move that you want to fade. But we thought it broke. If you go out to a monthly chart and you draw this, pattern here. It looked like it was going to break on the daily towards the end of January, right? We got some candle closes above that, but sell right back into it. We hold that lower trend line, and the Nasdaq is still very consolidated. With that being said, there is really opportunity to trade this market. If we look at last night, we did gap down, filled that gap early, but no volume went with this, and this is going to be a theme, right? This should already be a theme to anyone who joins at the buzzer, but this push up price wise, but VWAP not leaving that first 30-minute range is a sign that this move to the upside is on lower volume. What does that mean? Doesn't mean there's no guarantee that we're going to sell off, but when the volume does come in, if a lot of times what we'll see is a counter this initial move when volume comes in. So we close the gap. Perfect spot to look for the market to turn around if there's not enough volume to push us above it yet. And then, we had a nice low here, 25,200. We made a low and just turned around. Really bullish day until what is that white line? What is that white line in the NASDAQ? No discount codes. We do not have a discount code. Stick around to TopstepTV all week. We may have something for you guys for helping us reach 200,000 subscribers, but no discount codes here. Just hopefully good trading information, so you don't need a discount code. But yeah, Trader Miley, exactly 200 moving average. 200 moving average on the NASDAQ there. I took this short. In a personal account. I locked up the Topstep account, but we were talking about this during fast markets, the dragon line. Watching the market's response to this area, it wasn't the best short in the world, right? It wasn't, honestly, it wasn't a banger trade, but we did get a pullback back to New York session VWAP, which is this yellow line here, off that 200 moving average. Now, sometimes what happens is you identify a level, and he says this all the time, right? Time of day is a level. Is it a coincidence that the sell-off that we had in the NASDAQ back to VWAP happened only when there was 2 hours to go in the day? We were up in this area for 4 hours before we saw any real selling. And I really try to keep that in mind, especially as a volume trader. If I'm looking for momentum, I have to trade when there's higher volume. If you can look at this volume indicator on the bottom of my charts, you see this valley that we were in. We don't trade away from this 200 moving average until we start to climb out of that valley, right? So when D says time of day is a level, you could have a great price-wise location for a trade. But how many traders take early stop outs or scratch trades in this area because they have a good price they want to sell at, but the timing of the market is not going to agree with it yet. So, later in the day, I think I took this trade after 2 p.m. Eastern time. Did end up getting a decent short, but you really do have to wait sometimes. The way the NASDAQ shot out of the gate, I'm not gonna lie, we were on fast markets. I haven't traded on fast markets in a little while. I was kind of shell shocked, but we got urgency. We got urgency early. 3-minute opening range, price and volume left that range to the upside, and this is a huge move in the NASDAQ. This is 370 points in 45 minutes in the NASDAQ. So really aggressive bid there. We'll see whether or not it sustains. Yeah, then we kind of flattened out for the rest of the day, which is not surprising, right? The NASDAQ high to low range today. Daily ATR is 425. And just be aware of this, everybody. The daily ATR in the NASDAQ is starting to creep up. It's back above 400. It's at 425 right now. Today definitely helped with that. Today, high to low range, we had about 740 points. So all the volatility that we've been seeing in the metals may start to find its way to the equities. The NASDAQ has been under that 400 daily ATR since the holiday season, which makes sense, right? We're going to see lower ranges during holiday season. But Yeah, just that daily ATR is starting to pick up again. I don't like that double top. Yeah. I said this before. The start of 2025 reminds me a lot of the start of 2026 reminds me a lot of the start of 2025. Um, this was 2025. This was the start here where we made an all-time high in December. In this case, we haven't made an all-time high since October, but we just could not break out of this range until we broke out of the range, and everybody could see what happened. I don't know that that's going to happen here. I'm not saying it, but the start of this year reminds me a lot of the start of 2025. We will see what happens. All right. S&P, a little bit of a different story. Blew through that 200 moving average. We did have that 7,000 level up here, and you know, kind of the same price action happened at 7,000. The S&P has been a little stronger. Just say the T word once. I mean, that could get it going, right? That could get it going, and I don't think tariffs are out of the question yet. Uh, but yeah, I don't think tariffs are. I don't think we're clear from tariffs yet. We'll just have to wait and see if they do jump back into the news cycle. Another one, the Russell. All the equity markets kind of look the same today. I think the Dow was probably the strongest of the four. The Dow is actually closest to all-time highs right now. We're less than 1% off the all-time high in the Dow. It was definitely the strongest today. We continue to see this rotation where one equity market is going to be stronger than the other ones. For me, that's why I keep all four up. I chose to buy the Russell today, which turned out to be a pretty good trade. If you look at the first 3-minute opening range, we attach a view up to that. I bought the Russell. We shouldn't even say should have held on to this trade. If I held on to this trade, it did exactly what we were looking for it to do. I probably just overmanaged this one a little bit, but turned out to be a pretty decent trade as well. Again, urgency trades. Urgency trade, if you're a new viewer, we identify a range. In this case, I look at 3-minute opening ranges. Some people are going to look at 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half hour, whatever you decide to use. But in this case, price and volume on a 3-minute chart left that range very early, which is telling me that this market is doing a good job of finding buyers. So my job at that point is to just get in the flow and take as much of a piece of the move as I can. You guys mind if I put on some music? If the music is too loud, let me know. Try to keep it as background music. But I don't have my guy, Coach Paul, with me. So we'll keep the music pretty low. If it's too loud, let me know. Also, let me know if you can hear it. Song's a little too busy. Just sing. If we get to 2,000 likes, I'll sing. I can do whatever I want. All right. Can you guys hear the music? Is it even coming through? It's low. Yeah, I kind of want it to be low. I don't want it to be overbearing. We're experimenting with some stuff here. But here we go. I'll keep it low. All right. Let's take a look then. Can't hear it at all. All right. You should be able to hear it now. All right, cool. That should be good now. Yeah, my mic does pretty good noise canceling. All right, you guys should be able to hear the music now. So let's talk about gold. And Yair, I can definitely talk about that as well. You know, can you tell us more about your mentor? What can you teach us that helped you be more successful? 100%. So first, let's talk about the gold trade that worked out, right? Gold obviously has been extremely volatile. We can see the spread in gold is still pretty wide here. We've had an aggressive sell-off from the high to this low of today. Gold was in a bear market for 3 days, right? 21% sell-off from that high. We're back to around 15% right now. What's crazy to say is that this market is still in an uptrend. All we did was come down, test the 20 and 50 moving averages, and we're holding for now. And that, I think a lot of people were saying, was a very necessary, healthy pullback in this market. Because, it got a little irrational up here. We just started to run without any real pullbacks. And, the daily volume is absolutely nuts in gold over the last 3 days as well, right? So it's a lot. We talked about this last week, but the question of, if people are saying this market is illiquid, why is there so much daily volume trading? And the illiquidity means that there's not a balance in the order book, right? And we can see that in gold right now. There are still end users, there's still producers, there's still speculators that are trading this market. But because the order book isn't balanced and there isn't a strong enough bid, that's why you get these wide ranges. That's why we get these wide ranges in gold and a ton of volume. So, right, more volume than we've really seen in a long time. But also, I'm not ready to call this move over because a lot of people were ready to call it over here, right? In October, we had very similar price action. We sold off aggressively. Obviously, the dollar amounts are bigger now because gold keeps rising, but 3 heavy days of volume, it set us into a consolidation for a while. But once we broke out of that, we were right back up. So I'm not ready to call this over, but it could be another 3 months or so before we see gold making new all-time highs, if at all, right? So let's take a look then at the 30-minute, last night's open. Another one where, and Connell, right? It's a way bigger numbers are happening in gold right now, in the metals in general, way bigger numbers for sure. But so it may take a little longer to recover, right? Because I guarantee you there were some players in gold that got or in the metals in general, that got in trouble over the past couple of days or so. So let's take a look. Last night's open, we gapped down again in gold. VWAP never left that range to the upside. And why do I want to get in short here? It's because this market's been in a downtrend, right? Getting beat up over the past couple of days. Gap down. I took a couple scalp trades early, just looking for some follow through flow, and it didn't really happen. I will say that the scalps did put me up on the session, so I could take this trade eventually when it did play out. But the trade ultimately ended up being a short. Put this VWAP back on here. Trade ultimately ended up being a short after the Shanghai Open. So one of the things Coach Paul and I have been talking about, right, and we shared with you guys as well, I did take this trade, right? So one of the things we've been talking about is looking at a shorter opening range for Globex to reduce the risk. When we rejected up at this high, I did get in a couple of shorts for a quick scalp, but when we didn't get any follow through and we started to get in this chop range, I took a couple wins, couple losses in this range. I think ultimately I was up about 3 grand by the time we got to the Shanghai session open. And I had to remind myself to stop trading in this if there's no urgency. And to me, that's the biggest thing, right? I could have continued to try to short this market when it wasn't agreeing with me that it was ready to short, and gotten so chopped up that I don't get to participate. This is where we say, save your ammo for good trades and things like that. I want to make that point first, right? In this range, I had the potential to not even have a quarter of the day that I had if I continued to trade this, right? Looking for breakdowns. So there is a point where, as a trader, if you don't see what you're looking for, you might have to step away and come back when the market is ready to do what you were looking for, right? D says it all the time. Time of day is a level. And we know that one of the best time of days to trade gold is that Shanghai session open, right? So I take my wins, my losses, a couple lumps. I was a little bit upset in this range, but hey, what do I have to be upset about? I don't control this market. So come back when it's time to trade. Big Sexy, I traded the minis. Full transparency, this account, and I was supposed to do an end of the month wrap up for this. My weekend got busy. This account. So you know what? I'll talk about it, right? Because people ask all the time. They DM in Instagram and Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, how much did you risk? What size were you trading?" I would not be trading minis in this account if I didn't have the balance to trade minis in this account. I've taken $15,000 of payouts in the month of January from this account. Very blessed for the opportunity to trade these markets. And this account balance right now is at 92K, right? So if you see numbers on anybody's screen, understand that the numbers are a function of their account balance. If I had a $3,000 balance in this account, could I trade minis? I could, right? Topstep gives you the opportunity to do it, but I shouldn't be, right? And yeah, in 2 months, and I mean, that's the balance. So yeah, in since December 29th, right, we're up about 107K. That is one, taking good trade setups, and then two, I'm going to be honest. I talk to Coach Paul about it all the time. If I see a trade setup that I want to trade, I'm at the point now, everyone, that what I'm seeing, I feel like I'm seeing the markets really well, right? So I have to take advantage of that. And just to, kind of walk you through the mindset of a trader, if I'm seeing the market really well and I know that I'm only executing on my process, I'm more comfortable scaling up into certain trades, right? Does every trade get, I think at the max, I was at 4 minis in gold. Not all at one time. Does every trade get that? No. But if it's a higher quality setup, then I am going to step on the gas. Right. And that's just the goal as a trader, right? Like if Steph Curry's wide open, right? Draymond sets a screen and a defender goes under the screen, he's shooting the ball every single time. And that's kind of the way I want to think about this trading right now. If you're going to take high quality setups, then you're allowed to take more risk on those setups. All right. So Shanghai session open. We have VWAP, which is here. And we talked about this during fast markets, but I actually did this on the 1 minute chart. So let me go down to the 1 minute chart real quick. And you guys all know, right? If you've been joining at the buzzer, nothing has changed. This process is still the same. It's just the enhanced volatility in gold presented this. If gold was trading, let's take a look. Today's range high to low in gold was 484 points. The daily ATR right now is 209 points. If gold was trading like it was in January 2025 or February 2025, where the daily ATR was $32, I don't make 30 grand today, right? I might make 5, right? So understand that when you have a big day, it's a function of a couple of things, right? It's a result of a couple of things. One, it's your process, but two, the market's facilitated a bigger trade, right? If you're trading a smaller market, right, or a less volatile market, and you're looking to squeeze out the same amount of money, it's not going to happen that way, right? The markets are not presenting that same opportunity. So here's the 1 minute opening range. Here is VWAP for the full session. And another one where, what has been the theme so far? In the NASDAQ, in the S&P, volume, price traded higher, but volume didn't, right? So 4,800, that's where VWAP was. When I see price trade higher, 1 minute opening range, Shanghai open. Price trades higher, volume doesn't. I'm getting short off of this. And why I'm more comfortable holding onto this trade is because the Shanghai session is now opened, right? So we checked the full session VWAP. I got short, not right at the VWAP, on the way back down, 47.96. I was short. Again, I had a couple profits still on the day. And I was risking about $2,400 with a 2-lot. And just let the market do its job after that point, right? There aren't many times where after that Shanghai session opens, we're just going to see the market consolidate. So this gave me an opportunity to limit risk. I was confident in the trade, but do I know for sure that it's going to work out? I have no idea, right? But I established the risk. It's $2,400 back above this high, and I'm just going to let the market do its job from there. And sometimes, when we said this during fast markets, but when you're good, you get lucky, right? And then the market decided to aggressively sell. I sold one contract, I covered one contract right around 47.15s. So that was like $6 grand on that one. And then the other one, let it go. Once I get to here, so I'm short from 47.96. I'm already accepting that I'm trading in a thin market, thin and extremely volatile market. There was no way at any point, once this market got to below VWAP, that it was ever going to come back and stop me out for a winner. So it was either going to be stop me out for a loser. It was either going to be a small win or break even. And in this case, I was taking money off the table, right? So I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I just got in short here and I just let it work and whatever. You know, I see a bunch of people, and shout out to all these people who can do it. There's one trade execution and they make a ton of money. That's not going to be me, right? So I will manage these trades. And again, got out of one for about $6 grand, and then the other one was about 13, right? And then that was it, right? Celebrate it, great job, but have to assess, right? Here's an opportunity for a J trade. I missed this one, right? It is what it is. But this is why I want to say, you know, get back to process all the time. This is the highest volume 1 minute candle, and I was trading on the 1 minute. There was an opportunity to get long here, but I didn't, and that's okay, right? But why I want to say this is that if I was really locked in, the market continues to present opportunities, right? Like, and if you're keen enough to take those opportunities, you know, there's a ton of trades for you. I did take more longs later in the day. We talked about, shout out to Coach Paul. If you've not joined Coach Paul's pivot class, I highly recommend it. But there was a support level 45.78, I believe was that support. I woke up 3 o'clock this morning, saw the market trade into that support level and reject. And what's the significance of 3 a.m. Eastern time? What's the significance of 3 a.m. Eastern time? London Open, right? So another one where, okay, London Metal Exchange, right? London's going to trade metals as well. So I traded the Shanghai session. Now I'm going to trade the London session. London session does the same thing. We have the London session open right there. We have volume attached to it. Price leaves to the downside, tags the support, but volume doesn't go. I'm long. Right in this candle here, I'm long on a pullback here, and let's go the other way now, right? So when you put the puzzle pieces together, right, what are the things I'm looking for? Volume, time of day, and follow through. And that's it, right? That the 3 components to a trade for me. And where does my target have to be? I'm taking profits into this VWAP. Now, I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at this trade and I'm like, I think gold has the potential to run to 5,000. But I can't manage the trade that way. And if you look at it, we called the low, right? That after that pivot point, gold never traded below that again. So trade location was there. So, you know, there's the trader that says, oh, you know, I had the perfect trade location. I should have held it all the way here. That's not a real mindset, a real trader's mindset, in my opinion. You know, we're up $100 at a VWAP where the market does not have to trade higher than this. In hindsight, it does. In hindsight, it does trade higher, but if VWAP's a level that I'm looking at, it doesn't have to. So I have to manage what I have in this range here. And that was it. So turned out to be a pretty good day in the metals. Again, they are extremely volatile. I posted this on Twitter the other day. If you're going to trade the metals, understand that you are accepting extreme volatility. If this happened to be a losing day, I could not blame anybody but myself for trading this market. I accepted the volatility. There were trades, I'm telling you right now, even with limit orders, or even with the stop market orders, because there were a couple of trades where I did scalps with like a buy stop or a sell stop. A limit order would get filled and then you're immediately down, right? Or a limit order gets filled and then with the slippage and thin market, limit order fills at the price I wanted it, but then, you know, we see this wide spread and I'm already down 15 ticks. You have to accept that. If you're not accepting that, don't trade these markets. How many trades do you average per day? So pay me. It really depends on the day. I like to think of my trading as it'll be multiple executions, right? I think today, if you look at the stats, it was 60 executions on the day. But the way I like to look at it is how many trade ideas that I have. I probably, in this push to the upside, there were probably 12 executions total. It's one trade idea, in my opinion. But this was this was multiple executions, right? Because I'm in a couple. On this pullback, I'm adding one. And here, I'm getting out of that one. On a pullback, I'm getting back into one, out, back in, back out. But it's one trade idea. So as far as trade ideas go, I had 4 today. Short gold, long the NASDAQ, long the Russell, short the NASDAQ. So I had 5 trade ideas, multiple executions of those trade ideas. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. All right. Let me see. I see there's some comments in the chat. There's any comments that you posted in the chat that you want me to get to that I didn't, hopefully that helped make sense of it. Hopefully the size that I'm trading makes sense, right? Again, trade the size that fits your account. I don't want to see anybody just get into an XFA and try to replicate the same day. You're not doing yourself any favors with doing that. And if you're patient enough, then you can build to the point where you can take more risk, right? But you have to be patient. Again, this balance is, I've had this XFA since December 29th. In the beginning, I was trading micros until I had the balance to trade a little bit bigger. So, and it's only a month and a half, right? People try to rush and get to these goals. If you trade well and you execute your process, you'll be at your goals a lot quicker than you imagine. But you do have to accept that, okay, I need to start off slow, right? And get things rolling first, and then we go from there. All right, so there you have it. Larry asking, what do I mean when volume doesn't go? Just explain that one, right? So I'm a volume trader. You have a couple. First thing I want to identify is a level. VWAP was this level, 4,800. But I'm not trading this entire session. I'm trading from right here where the Shanghai session opens. From the Shanghai session, you see this yellow line? That's what I mean when I say volume. Price traded higher, price is up here, but VWAP stayed here. Priced above VWAP, but volume for the Shanghai session did not trade higher. This is an empty move, in my opinion. Could it continue? It could, but sometimes you have to put on risk in what you think is happening, right? And with that volume failing, worst case scenario, this is a range trade back into the middle of the range. But then what happens? Volume starts to pick up and we sell through the low of that range. Did you use a plan to increase? Yeah, 100%. There is a plan to increase and reduce the risk, right? So Coach Paul normally has a suggestion of 12% of the account balance. I'm starting to prepare this account for a couple of things, right? If and when, I don't know when they're going to do it, if they're going to do it, the risk team moves this to a live account, I have to trade with a $3,000 DLL. So I won't be able to trade the size that I'm trading right now. I'm aware of that. But I also am aware of a scaling plan in a live account. So I've been training to kind of do that as well. So what I've been doing is scaling up, usually like every $10,000, I'll scale up in the account position size, but I'm scaling the percentage of the account that I'm risking down, right? So if I started at 12%, now I'm still at 8% right now, right? So I'm only ever risking max on the day 8% of the account, because there is the option when you get to a live account to kind of have those conversations with the risk team. So, but what I will have to do is, if they start getting closer to moving this to a live account, start getting comfortable with a $3,000 daily loss limit again. Right. Let's go over the other markets and then I'll get to any questions. Silver. I've taken payouts, Audio. I've taken 3 payouts so far, because that's one of the criteria, right, for moving to a live account. 5 payouts. I'm at 3. So we'll just keep going from there. All right. Silver, not too much to talk about today. Silver, honestly, guys, I'm not even looking at this market anymore for now. Not looking at this market. What else moved today? Crude oil. Crude was a nice sell. Another one, gap down last night. Pretty nice sell here in crude oil. I believe we are back at the 200-day moving average. Not yet. Crude has been pretty interesting, though. Crude has been pretty interesting. So watching this 200 moving average going into tomorrow, and then natural gas. Another one that was just a really big sell-off today. I think the metals were really the show. The equities, nice trading today as well. I don't have Coach Paul with me, so I would ask him, his opinion on some of these markets, but, interesting spot. So what we can do is if you guys have any questions, I'll try to get to. And what opening range is most reliable for Asia gold in your opinion? Dindin, I used the 1 minute today. I wouldn't try to find the perfect one between 1, 3, and 5. I could have used the 1, 3, or 5 today in gold. It would have all been the same thing. I've just reduced to a smaller time frame. And again, I'm not trying to make sense of every 1 minute candle. I'm just trying to find a way to limit the risk while still being able to take the trade. But if you use a 3 minute or a 5 minute, just keep using it. Right? Use whatever time frame works for you. Here's the 3 minute. It was the same exact trade. Right? 3 minutes, still rejected at VWAP. Identical trade. Let's see. With the range in gold, you have to have an in and out strategy. Yeah, and I see some of you saying, you've been tuning in for 2 years. I appreciate you all joining. Last year, you guys know it was a struggle for sure. And this year, nothing has changed strategy-wise, right? And that's another thing. If you've been doing this, you've been trading for 6 months to a year, you have a strategy. You got to make sure that you're in the right place to execute your strategy. And that's all it was. That's the difference between last year and this year for me, being in a different mindset to actually execute the trades. All right, we can take a look at the Russell for Peter Schaap. Oh, Bitcoin. We could definitely look at Bitcoin. Maybe I didn't want to look at Bitcoin because I'm down. I started buying Bitcoin and they started selling it, but we should be okay. All right, let's take a look at the Russell. Looked at this one a little earlier, but still pretty bullish. A little bit of a pullback, right? The Russell does have to claim above this trend line from the all-time high. And Peter, if the Nasdaq and the S&P start to gain a bid, and just start to find some buyers, I would be conscious of maybe looking for opportunities for longs in the Russell. Today we had a decent bid after the sell-off where all the equity markets kind of look the same, but we are kind of right at that 200 moving average on the 30-minute. So for tomorrow's session, this is exactly what I'm going to be watching, right? It's been a resistance so far. We broke above it today price-wise. Volume didn't trade above it. So how much of this is empty price action above this 200 moving average? So what I'd be watching is in 26.49 is that price. What I would be watching is when the market opens up for tomorrow, and really for the Russell, what happens in the New York session, because we know in the overnight, last night was a decent overnight trade, but normally you don't get those in the Russell. When the volume comes in for the New York session, how does it respond to this 200 moving average? Price trades above and volume doesn't, then you guys can probably guess what trade I'm going to be in. If price trades above and volume does as well, you could probably guess what trade I'm going to be in. But it's a nice moving market. It trades really well. I had a long in it today during fast markets. Short arm the trade a little bit, but it does trade really well. Let's see. There was a question. Kin's future. I like this question. I'm just scrolling through the chat now, guys. I don't think I have anyone here with me, so I'll try to get through as many questions. How come I tend to do better with my own money, but on fundeds I can pass them, but can't even reach a payout? It's a different mindset. You're taking a different mindset to funded accounts. If you are, I would question how quickly are you passing your combines, right? If it's 2 days, you're not even conditioning yourself to get to the point of a payout, right? If you pass a combine every 2 days, but then you blow it in 2 days because you're moving too fast, right? You got to slow down in the beginning. Even like at a minimum, you need an XFA for 5 days to get a payout, right? So if you're passing 2 days, you're not conditioning yourself to be able to hold an account that long. And sometimes, and I've been in this cycle as well, sometimes when you just cycle through combines, it starts to feel like, I mean, putting money in a slot machine, to be honest. So be conscious of that, right? It is still your real money at the end of the day. There was a question about my mentor. I learned how to trade from a guy named Rich Lepis. Shout out to Rich. He's unfortunately no longer with us. I've talked about him a couple times, but he ran a group call Ahead of the Charts, and he was a volume trader, right? We learned how to trade reading order flow, literally a depth of market and time of sales next to each other. identifying where bigger trades are being placed, and then trying to come up with a strategy from trading from there. I talked about them earlier on the show today, but that is where I learned it from. You can still find their YouTube videos up, of course. They're going to be dated videos, but there's definitely some interesting stuff there. It's so hard to trade micro gold with 2K drawdown. Don't do it. If 2K is too little of drawdown, you could trade another market, right? You don't have to trade the metal. So understand, right? Especially if you're a newer trader, if you're trading the metals right now, you're trading metals at a historic time to trade metals, right? There has never been a time in the history of metals where they've been more volatile than they are right now. So if you're a newer trader and you're expecting to make money out of that, be a little nicer to yourself, right? The metals will calm down, but they have never been more volatile than they are right now. Rich Lepis was his name, main event. And ahead of the charts was the group. Back in the day, a $6 move on gold was a great day. Yeah, I mean, and now like a 30-second handle, not even, right, is 6 points. Let's take a look at this. The 1 minute ATR in gold, when things were really moving, was 14 points, 15 points. That was a full day's move. So yeah, I'm creating my playbook. Any suggestions on how one can refine setups? I have my own setups, but definitely want to polish them. Any suggestions? I mean, you could chat GPT them, right? Talk to chat GPT about your trade setups. Right now, if I ask chat GPT to give me my 8 trading setups, it's going to give me very detailed steps. That's because I had a 3-hour conversation about what I was looking for in the markets. I would say, Shubham, if you're even at a point where you're defining setups, you know, at some point we have to get away from optimizing the playbook and we have to get into optimizing the execution of the playbook, right? As a trader, we have to be the coach and the player at the same time, right? So you're defining your playbook, great. But then you have to define how I execute the playbook, right? What do I trade, Osan? I traded a lot today. I traded gold, the Russell, the NASDAQ, and that was it. Shorted gold, bought gold, shorted the NASDAQ a couple times, bought the Russell. I watched your Dom video, and it's pretty dated compared to current Project X Dom. So that Dom video was last year. That was just Quant Tower. That was just a Quant Tower video, which is pretty up to date. Maybe I could do another one on the Topstep X Dom, but it should be pretty similar. All right, let me see. We'll get to any other questions that you guys might have, or any other markets. Oh, we can take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin on the daily is getting smoked. There was a candle that we talked about last year. November 21st, we had a J trade off that candle. We held it for a while. 50% of that candle held for a very long time. And then liquidations happened. I think we hit Sailor's liquidation price at 76,000. I think Bitmine, who's holding Ethereum, is holding the, if Bitmine closes that Ethereum trade, at least this morning when I checked, it was the 5th ever biggest loss ever documented. It was like $5.5 billion or something like that. So crypto's in a it's hurting right now. It's hurting right now. On the daily, we're under the 200 moving average. You know, if you look to the left, we talked about this before, but I think this is the candle that we might be targeting here to the left. So 70,000 is the high of that candle, and that looks like where it might want to go. So getting pretty beat up. Great market to trade, especially with Topstep accounts. 50 cents a tick, micro Bitcoin. You know, you can do really well, right? If you're a trader that says, hey, I want to trade the metals, but the metals are too volatile, take a look at micro Bitcoin. You might not hear a bunch of people trading it, but it moves really well. And, you know, you can make some decent profits in this market. Who bought a brand new car from our Carvana? I see someone on social media and the chart is zoomed in so you can't see their Combine account. I mean, hey. Believe only half of what you hear on the internet. Or am I copy trading? No. So so actually that's a good question. The goal here, and I'm saying this as somebody who trades at Topstep, there's two ways Topstep can, and MP told me this when I first joined as a coach at Topstep. Two ways Topstep makes money: from traders purchasing combines or traders trading really well, and then Topstep taking a percentage from it. What I said this year is that, and I love Topstep, I love working here. Any money they get from me is going to be from a profit split. So my goal was not to buy a bunch of accounts. My goal is trade one account, trade it really well, build a balance in that account, and we will take money out of the markets, split it that way, right? That's my goal. That's ultimately and that should be the goal for most people. Everybody else on the internet is going to tell you buy more accounts, use my affiliate code, 90% off here, 90% off there. I don't want to do that. If you trade well, Topstep takes a percentage of your profits. Try that. By trading one account and just being really fucking good at that one account. That's my goal. And I'm saying that as somebody who's here representing Topstep right now. Trade well and help us both out. This should be a mutually beneficial relationship, right? So trade really well. That should be the goal for everybody. Don't cycle accounts. All right. I think that might be it. I mean, if I was copy trading, that'd be awesome. But, you know, what up, Coach Units? All right. I think that's it, everybody. I think we did it. There's some more stuff coming later in the week. Is this the best you ever traded in my career? No, which is, it's probably, JD, it's not the best I've traded in my career, PNL wise. But it's probably, I would say this is probably the most focused I've been trading in a little while. And I hesitate to say that because anytime you say, oh, I figured it out, Coach Vince, you know, you've been doing this for a long time. Every time you say, oh, I figured it out, the market's going to teach you. But what I do know is that I'm just focused on executing the process, not on the money, not on anything like that. I had 4 losing days in this account last month. I'm just focusing on executing the process. And that's what I remind myself. I don't care what the P&L says for the day. Andre was asking me about it earlier today. How do you trade the rest of the week? I'm just going to trade. Conscious of the risk that I'm taking. That's already defined. But I just want to execute a process. And as long as I'm going to continue to trade it, the job is not done, right? So I got to, as soon as we get off of here, I'm going to go have dinner with my sister and my niece. And then the markets are going to open up and I'm going to get right back to process. So I think that should be everyone's goal. Wherever you are in your trading journey, stick to your process. All right, but I think that's it. I think that is it. Trade well, everybody. Like Coach Paul says all the time, plan your trade your plan. Understand your risk, define your risk before you put your trades on. Can't say that enough. Define your risk before you put your trades on and then just let them go. But thank you everyone for joining. If you could do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button on the way out. Appreciate you all being here. Stick around. Make sure you stay tuned in to TopstepTV. Again, thank you all for getting us to 200,000 subscribers. We got coaches doing classes in Discord after this. Coach Hoop at 6 p.m. Eastern. Coach Ray at 7. Coach Vince at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Coach Dakota with Slow Markets tonight at 8:30. I'll be joining him for Slow Markets. We got Aaron with the London Open, 2:30 Eastern time. D with the Euro trade at 4:30. And then we're back tomorrow for the opening call. Trade well, manage your risk. See you all soon. Bye.